Hi friends. A lot of you asked about my condition and how I was doing. I'm Gio. I recently turned 61 and I'm gay. But that has nothing to do with the story. I also am not including about my relationships at my partner's request. Except I'll tell you about my dogs. Most of you remember Latte. She passed on. I watched over Mom's dog, Mimi, for a short time. But she was elderly, had abandonment issues, and didn't live long. Currently, Coco is living with me. She's a senior. I seem to have things for older dogs. Anyway, the following story is true, but a few details have been edited for brevity or anonymity or various other reasons. By the way, the medical advice I received here is only for me, not for you. You see, everybody's body is different, and what works for me, or doesn't work for me, might be perfectly fine for you. Make sure you see your doctor. And if you have a very urgent medical issue, make sure you see your doctor. Fast. Let's back up a few years. Grandpa on my mom's side was 60. I was about 15. They had diagnosed him with sky-high blood pressure without a cause. It didn't end well. He had a massive heart attack and was placed in a medically induced coma for a week, then in a long-term care facility. He could never walk after that, but he and his miniature go-kart and his dog Bobo kept him active. I have memories of him walking the dog every day, him sitting in his little go-kart, and the dog just walking beside him in his go-kart. He might have basically slowed almost down, but it didn't stop him. He used his hands, and he built things. He built a Christmas village for my aunt, not just a little Christmas village with like 2 or 3 houses, but one with like 20 houses and a moving snow rail, and it was amazing. He didn't slow down. Well, he did slow down as far as his legs was concerned, but his hands were always active. Anyway, I used to be LDS, and they ran a routine physical on me before asking me to serve on a mission. They do that with all their prospective missionaries. They discovered I had sky-high blood pressure that could not be explained, just like Grandpa. They ran an echocardiogram, and in their infinite wisdom, wasted no time. They processed the results. They determined that blood pressure in the high 170s is caused by a stress reaction, and put me on meds. They thought I was having a non-stop anxiety attack because I was going on a mission. Maybe they were right. During my mission, I had 2 more echocardiograms. My meds were adjusted twice, and I saw a specialist who realized that my reaction was anything but stress or anxiety related. In their holy wisdom, the people in charge of my mission transferred me away from the only person who began to suspect the truth. My dad turned 43 or 44 when I got back from my mission. He started a new job and suddenly was in the hospital. It couldn't be heart issues because he was so young, even though he showed all the symptoms of a stroke and sky-high blood pressure. He was diagnosed with MS and given meds for multiple sclerosis. Why were the doctors shocked when they didn't work? What about his sky-high blood pressure? It was only a coincidence. He was given a special diet which Mom made him follow religiously. I think in this day and age it would have been called Mediterranean something. And I think it was the only reason Dad lived for as long as he did. Fast forward 20 years. Grandpa developed cancer, and in the process, they did a lot of tests on him. They discovered that he had been living with a birth defect in his heart, a genetic variant of cardiomyopathy. Cardiomyopathy is a deformed, enlarged heart, and he'd been living with it for his entire life. That was why he was weaker than those around him. The doctors during that time had gained a little bit of smarts. My dad, though he wasn't genetically related to my grandpa, had the same condition. Turns out it was an uncommon condition, but it isn't rare. A lot of people develop a form of it during their lifetime, like 1 in 500 people. That means that at least 6,000 people in Vegas are currently living with it. By accident, I inherited it from both my bloodlines. Later, when my parents had divorced, oh, you don't want to go through that. By that time, I had already left the church because of LGBTQ issues. I had similar tests done and learned I had inherited the family gift. I was referred to a Dr. W, a local cardiologist. Here's the problem. He was never available. He charged an arm and a leg even if he wasn't there and you were on insurance, and he rescheduled every single one of our appointments. He did determine that my ejection percentage was half of everybody else's, meaning about 25% instead of a healthy 50%. When I told him that his high-class cholesterol medicine made me gain weight, he said, "You're lying. Cholesterol medications don't do that." Yes, they do. I gained 30 pounds. It took me a while to lose it, too. You see, I have a sensitive body, and I react to almost every med. They give me things like depression, foot rashes, severe brain fog, and I'm unable to focus on work. I have weird psychotic thoughts and upset stomachs and strange pains, etc. The doctors never believe me. To top it off, my insurance through my work changed. We had a couple of deadline issues because of the changing in insurance, and that didn't mesh until the beginning of the year. So for nearly 6 months, I couldn't go to a doctor unless I wanted to pay out of pocket. Do you know how expensive that is? I saw Dr. H for only a short time. And though we solved a few issues, we didn't get to everything, like sky-high blood pressure. That's too expensive. She did refer me to Dr. B, where we solved the medication issues, and life was working pretty well. But no matter what we did, my blood pressure didn't go down. And so I was diagnosed with unresponsive high blood pressure, like my father, like my grandfather. Around this time I began to see a different Dr. W, and he had some interesting theories about my medication that actually turned out to be true. You see, he believed me. Some people have issues with almost all medications, like me. Unfortunately, he retired a few years later and moved to Chicago to be with his family. About this time, I couldn't explain why, I began attending the catechism classes for the Catholic Church. Their stance about LGBTQ issues had been evolving. They might have their problems, but they were willing to talk to people about gay issues. The Mormons were very unaccepting of anything except their lifestyle. Unless I did some serious repenting, I was not allowed to go to my sister's Mormon wedding and had to get special permission from a general authority, their version of a cardinal or a bishop, to attend my sister's wedding. Yeah, when I left the church, I didn't look back. Anyway, I thought I was healthy. I walked an hour every day, tried to avoid sugar, tried to eat healthy. Let's restart the story. In October 30th, 2023, I woke up in the middle of the night unable to breathe. Sitting on the edge of my bed, I caught my breath and tried to figure out what had happened. Nothing made sense. I was a little dizzy, but that went away. My left hand felt odd, but that normalized after a few minutes. I went back to bed, just to lay there. A little scared, a little worried. I didn't know what had just happened. The next day, I couldn't go for my normal hour-long walk. My left hand had an odd stiffness. Part of me wondered if I had a mild stroke, but symptoms didn't match up. The only symptom I could really pinpoint was a growing weakness, and I also couldn't sleep more than 2 hours a night. My partner convinced me to make a doctor's appointment, and I did on Friday, November 3rd, 2023. Why did I wait almost a week? My hand was back to normal. My writing was back to normal. I was fine, except for the growing fatigue. I saw Dr. L and Dr. S and various others. They gave me another echocardiogram and some test involving heart rhythm. I could never remember that one's name. It was determined that I had had a cardiac event that had stopped my breathing, but they needed further tests to see if my heart had also stopped. They referred me to Dr. K and Dr. F at a nearby cardiac center, 1 city over. I had yet another echocardiogram, but they also gave me an electrosonogram, and they did extensive listenings at my heart. It was determined I had a problem. My heart beat with a completely random bongo drum rhythm, sometimes strong, sometimes weak, and because of that, my lungs couldn't figure out how to breathe. Anyway, they prescribed for me my first cocktail of meds to try and even out my heart rhythm and breathing. One of those early meds, let's call it medication A, turned into a nightmare. Surprise! Nobody believed me when I told them I only got 2 hours sleep a night. They assumed it was my bongo heartbeat. Their answer? Another medication. They kept that medication going because it was so powerful and doing its primary job. But they also added medication O, medication M, and medication F. And a couple of others that I stopped taking. My GP changed medication O to a more powerful version called medication T. In addition to the other tests, they had me wear a special long-term echocardiogram over my heart. I had to wear that for 2 weeks. Then, when that was done, I had to wear a second one to determine how bad my sleep apnea was. Oh boy, they kept finding thing after thing after thing after thing. I had a happy ending, right? Wrong. The stomach aches had started. I told my GP about them, and we changed medication T back to medication O. I think he was just trying to please the difficult patient. It helped a little, but at 3 every morning I was on my hands and knees dry heaving. My partner had a serious freak out. The last time I took medication T was when I went to a nearby mini-mart at 3 in the morning to find some kind of stomach medicine, but found myself dry heaving on the ground in front of the store. Beginning the next day, I did something that would freak my doctor out, but I never told him till later. I started a medication elimination diet to see what was doing what to me. Don't do this, kids. Not without doctor support. What did I learn? Medication A gave me a 16-hour stomach ache, massive fatigue, and brain fog. Sometimes I dazed out so bad I couldn't remember what I was doing. My writing suffered because there were whole sections I didn't remember writing, and they didn't fit in with what I had planned. Medication O only gave me an 8-hour stomach ache, plus a low-grade headache, fatigue, and brain fog. I couldn't walk very far either. Then there's the one the doctors never believed. Medication M made me gain weight, like 20 pounds, and want to sleep all the time. I was afraid to drive because I got so drowsy. My daily walks almost stopped. The doctors never believed me. Medication F was the worst. The edema started. Certain parts of my body swelled up to 3 times their normal size. And during my time on medication F, like I said, I gained 20 pounds, and my knees and ankles looked like basketballs. The doctors didn't believe me. Without knowing what else to do, I resumed praying the rosary, because I really didn't know what to do anymore. Nothing the doctors were giving me was working. Nothing I could do was working. Nothing was working, it seemed. Except you guys were praying for me. That was working. My GP told me I was also in the beginning stages of type 2 diabetes, and that's why sores were forming on my legs. Finally, it wasn't much, but I had an answer. Except, he said, no, it's not medication F that's doing this to you. No, it's not medication M either that's doing this to you. People with your diagnosis only live a few years, so just enjoy the time you have left. Oh, brother. Doctors never believe me. I almost gave up on doctors. I changed to a new doctor, Dr. G. What made him different? He had done his undergraduate work in lymphology. His perspective about the importance of the lymph system was more knowledgeable than the other doctors put together, and it was fascinating to learn about it. And Dr. G listened when I told him about the side effects that the other medications had given me. He came up with a plan. Step 1. Heal and restore my lymph system. The lymph system, for those of you who don't know, is like the garbage disposal system for the body. When it gets clogged up or doesn't run very well, it affects the body, literally, the whole body. Anyway, step 2, get the lymph system running as it should be, so it can help my kidneys and liver and other systems with healing and running as they should be. Step 3, adjust my diet. My body requires simplicity and moderation. I can't go overboard. I have to be careful. Over the next few weeks, he and I will be talking about this. Thank you, everybody, for all your prayers and well wishes. It has meant a lot. I'll keep you posted. I'll return back to the stories next session. Thank you for everything. Thank you for your kindness. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you later. Thank you.